If you're a people pleaser, you probably know what it's like to have bad boundaries. But it's perfectionists who are actually really bad at this. Feeling overwhelmed, being burnt out, lots of stress. If you've ever been irritable, resentful, had to clean up your whole space after you've had a hard conversation, these can actually be signs of poor boundaries. Hi, I'm April. I'm new here, at least to YouTube. I've been a therapist for many years, and I help people who are usually high achievers understand and express their needs so they can live a more balanced life and reach success. Today we're talking about boundaries. How to tell if you've got poor boundaries, the different types of boundaries, how to communicate by being direct but kind, common problems like guilt with boundaries, and finally, handling pushback. Some signs that you might not be setting boundaries very well. Things like getting irritable. Thank goodness for my therapist for helping me recognize that this irritability wasn't just like, oh, this person's done something wrong to me. It was, I'm feeling overwhelmed, and I'm feeling like when things don't go exactly the way that I need them to, you're rocking the boat. I felt like I couldn't ask for what I wanted, and I was like, it builds up. Frequent nagging, that's often a sign of trying to set your boundaries, but not really doing it effectively or having control over how you're doing it. You might be somebody that's really organized or likes to keep things really tidy, or you're a little bit of a perfectionist, and you might not think oh, I'm just organized, I'm just a perfectionist, ergo bad boundaries. This is often actually a sign of trying to control things in your life, the smaller things in your life, unrelated areas that you can control, that you do have power and authority over, because you don't feel like you have authority or power over these other areas where you don't have boundaries. You can develop resentment when you don't have power or control over those areas of your life. When you notice that you have resentment building up and you feel like this person doesn't do this for me, or blah, 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 this situation isn't the way that I want it and I just can't change it, it can actually be a sign that you have unmet or unexpressed needs. So this is your challenge. You need to get to know yourself first. What's going on for you? What works well in your life? What areas are going well? What areas maybe have some pressure points? And you can kind of look at that and recognize where you need to practice, maybe. Types of boundaries. This is an important part of recognizing what you need and understanding yourself. So things like physical boundaries, don't touch me, don't hug me, I don't like that. That's consent. We hopefully all know this by now. But there's also things like emotional boundaries, like, I don't want to do that emotional labor for you. I did not sign up to be the dumping ground for you when you get home from work. It can be mental boundaries, like mental labor. So recognizing this is going to help you recognize where you might need to set limit, what has to do with safety, what has to do with comfort. There's also different contexts in which you might set boundaries. The way that you set a boundary in your work life versus a romantic relationship or a friendship is going to be different from each other. Understanding the different relationships and the contexts in which you feel like you want to work on boundaries is going to play a role in everything else that comes next. Okay, this is the money. This is where the magic happens. Be kind, but direct. If you're not setting boundaries very well, you might be focusing a lot on the be kind part. Let's just keep the peace. Let's be nice. I want to be a nice person. Being direct can be confrontational and uncomfortable, but it can often be actually the kinder thing to do, to say something clearly and directly to somebody so that they know what to expect from you, or they know what you're asking. There are nonverbals that can be pretty clear and direct, like if you walk away, you remove yourself from a conversation, you leave the room, or maybe you start engaging in a new activity. You see it all the time when people are like, If you've got teenagers on their phones, we all do it. I don't know why we blame teenagers. It's not their fault. Those are the nonverbals that can be quite direct, but at a certain point, especially if you're shifting the rules of a relationship, like setting new boundaries in an old relationship is a change in the rules. The other person is going to need to know clearly from you and directly from you what's changing, what's expected of them, and what they can expect from you moving forward. That requires direct verbal communication as well. A good example of this is making a clear request, not just a comment or a statement. Like, you left the dishes by the dishwasher again. You didn't put them in the dishwasher. Oh, I guess I'm putting the dishes in the dishwasher again tonight. Those are kind of just comments, and it leaves things a little bit ambiguous. It's passive aggressive. You need to say exactly and clearly what you're looking for. So saying something more like, hey, do you mind putting the dishes in the dishwasher? Doesn't leave it up for interpretation. It lets the other person know what you're asking from them. Another part of that too is actually checking your mood and kind of what emotions are coming up for you before you even say anything. So this is the getting to know yourself part. We're going back to that a little bit. In order to be kind but direct, you need to know what's coming out unintentionally. If someone was to say, you always leave your dishes out and I have to clean them up after every meal, it's kind of clear that the issue is the irritability there. In contrast, now picture somebody saying, hey, I noticed that we end up with the dishes out on the counter quite often. Do you think that we can come up with a way that we put those away before we go to bed or before we go to work the next day at a certain time? That tends to make it more of a joint communal problem that you're working through together and solving this issue of the dishes being out rather than solving the irritability. It invites the other person in to work on it with you rather than them being like, this is uncomfortable, I just need to make you go away. So that's the packaging, the way that we deliver what we know about ourselves, what we need. It invites the other person and makes it easier for the other person to do what we're asking for them, which is ultimately what we want. I used to think this was kind of dumb. I was like, well, if they just respect me, then they should just do it. I shouldn't have to ask, they should know. We've all been there. This is the reality of it. This is relationships. We sometimes need to spell it out because we're the only ones that live in our heads and they're living in their heads. We need to bridge that gap and find a way to get our needs across, but also invite them to come across that bridge to us. If you make the bridge look really scary and unsafe, they're probably not going to cross it, which is fair. Some things you can do to work on this. Try practicing in small baby steps first. Don't think about the big relationships that you have that you're like, this is the problem relationship and things need to change yesterday. Think about a relationship where you already feel respected and maybe there's one incident that comes up where like a friend is asking if you want to hang out. Lovely and innocent request. And you need the night to yourself. Just practice setting a boundary in that kind of a setting, in that kind of a relationship first to get a feel for it and to get comfortable with it. And then you can start to work your way up to the big ones. Or you can practice them at the same time. Just don't put so much pressure on yourself in the big ones for it to go perfectly the first time. Or if you want to get onto the roof, you have to climb the ladder. So you can't just jump on the roof and expect to be there. You need to like start one rung at a time, and each rung gets you to the next rung, and that's where you're going to get all the way to the top eventually. So start small, work on setting boundaries in relationships where you already feel respected and you think that they'll be well received. If you struggle with how to be kind but direct, this is one of my favorite uses for AI. Get the robots to do it. I don't know if I need to say anything more really about that. It takes the emotion out of it. It's a really great way to do that mood and emotion check for yourself. You can even use it to write a script that you can practice or repeat verbally in the same situation over and over again. It might just be, hey, do you think it can be your turn to do the dishes tonight? Hey, do you think it can be your turn to do the dishes tonight? Hey, can it be your turn to do the dishes tonight? You got the idea. And they'll get it too. So if you want to find the right script that you can just memorize and repeat without all the emotions attached behind it, use your little robot friends. Use the AI. You can use it for text messages to practice the nice texts to your friends, and it'll challenge you to be more direct. It's challenged me to be more direct. And it'll tell you when you're saying too much, like you don't need to explain yourself. It'll help you cut it all out. We often have poor boundaries because of guilt. There can be a lot of underlying reasons for this. It can be things like prioritizing other people's needs. It can be feeling like this is expected of you, this is your role, this is your job. But it can also be feeling inadequate or unworthy. It can be a fear of rejection or conflict because you feel like if you say what you want, the other person is not going to like it because they've probably been benefiting from you not having boundaries. We have real reasons for not setting boundaries. It doesn't just happen. We're not just bad people that just happened to not learn this on day one of kindergarten. This happens on a deep level and has deep reasons that we do it. Perfectionism being another one, the expectations we place on ourselves and thinking that we're a failure. If we set this boundary and we don't perform at this level that we expect ourselves to perform at, it's going to be a lot harder to set boundaries with people, and you're going to keep feeling overwhelmed and burnt out, and you're not going to actually perform at the level and be able to do the things that you really care about and take care of the people that you really care about. So this is really about boundaries being an act of self-respect and taking care of your needs so that you can then take care of other people. It's not about keeping people out. It's about saying, hey, here's the doorway. You can come through the doorway. Look at this nice, pretty doorway. But don't bulldoze. Don't knock my house down. Don't knock my house down. It's here and I like it and I'm living in it. It just teaches people how to navigate around you and live peacefully with you. I will say there's going to be pushback, especially when you're setting a new boundary in an old relationship. There's going to be repeated pushback because there has been repeated lack of boundaries. And this is a new rule that the other person needs to learn. When the other person is benefiting from the rules being in their favor, they're benefiting from you having bad boundaries. They're going to like the fact, whether they mean to or not, they might not realize that they're doing it. People aren't malicious and mean. They might enjoy the fact that things are just chill and you keep the peace for them and there's no conflict, no conversation. They don't have to talk about difficult things that they don't want to do. They don't have to put dishes away. They don't have to do as much work because you're the one that's doing it. When you overfunction for other people, they benefit from it. When you stop overfunctioning, when you take that away, even though it's fair and it's okay and it's necessary and it's needed so that in the long term you can continue to give an amount that's more sustainable, it's gonna feel uncomfortable. You're gonna need to learn how to deal with that resistance, especially at the beginning of setting new boundaries with certain people. When is it appropriate to negotiate? It might be when the other person brings new information to light. Like, I actually work really late on Wednesdays and I'm not able to do dishes on that day. So sure, like, okay, I'll do dishes on Wednesday, you do dishes on Tuesday and Thursday. That's a great example of negotiating. You might also be compromising if it's a matter of safety or your livelihood, like well-being. Like, you can't come into work and be like, I'm not doing this anymore because I'm setting a boundary because April told me to in this YouTube video. You might get fired. So that might not be an option. So it might be an area where you compromise in order to find another workaround to be able to continue on, to be safe, to have your needs met in the boundary and earning an income, for example. At a certain point, you're going to need to stay firm and end negotiations. There's an acronym for this that's, I think, really helpful for the staying firm part. The acronym is JADE. It's JADE. J stands for justify. So these are all things you don't want to do at a certain point. You don't need to justify why you're setting this boundary. A is for argue. Don't argue about it. D, you don't need to defend yourself. You're not under attack. You're not attacking the other person. It's just a statement. E is for explain. You don't need to explain the boundary anymore if you've been appropriately kind and direct. The directness takes care of that. You've said what you need. You don't need to explain it any further. Repeat the boundary each time it comes up. There's going to be pushback. There's going to be pushback. There's going to be pushback. This is the part that's kind of annoying and hard, but worth it is all I can say. And it gets easier. People learn the new rules, and as you continue to be consistent and firm and clear and kind, creating, that bridge again where people feel invited to come across to where you are or meet you in the middle, you just need to continue to be clear that the bridge is there. You need to walk across the bridge. There's a lot of metaphors. I like metaphors. Let me know if you'd like to hear more about having difficult conversations. I could do a whole video on this because there is so much to say. This is just related to boundaries specific. And if you're in Canada and you're interested in working with me in a therapeutic setting, you can check out my link in the description below. I look forward to hearing from you. Is what no one says at the end of a YouTube video ever. Okay, bye!